Did anyone really like the ASMR episode a lot? Because that was some real ASMR. That really was some real
That's
ASMR.
very real. As I was going back and like editing it and listening to it, it is actually, it's a lot. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot. It's cool though, because I've never recorded anything like that ever. So just listening to myself, I can hear some feedback, by the way, right now.
Oh shit! Good
Some
call.
echoing.
How about now?
Let me keep talking. Hello, hello, hello.
Should be totally
hello, all the sagers out there. Hello. If you're listening to the Neon Sage podcast right now, I want you to stick your hand high up in the sky. Okay, perfect. There we go. Wonderful. We're here. This is the Halloween podcast. If you're listening to this right now, Halloween probably just passed. I hope you had a good Halloween. If you have kids and you took them trick-or-treating, I want to know. Reach out to us. Did you take them to the neighborhood you live in? Did you go to a nicer neighborhood to take them trick-or-treating? What's the play nowadays, right?
Comment down below how many razor blades you found in your kid's candy.
Yeah, I would love to know.
I want to know.
I would love to know. I was always really afraid of poison candy, razor blades as a child.
Yeah.
For no reason. I just was. But never happened once to me or anyone that I knew, luckily. But, yeah. Well, everyone, I love you all. Thank you for listening. Preston, how the fuck has your week been, dude?
I mean, dude,
Tell
as
me
you
about
can
it.
tell, it's been filled with angst and existential dread.
Exactly, dude. And let me guess. Your parents just don't understand.
They fucking don't, dude. Let me tell you. And I want to make this very clear that I will be like this forever. This is not a phase.
It's definitely not a phase.
Okay.
This is you.
For those of you listening to the audio only podcast, I strongly advise you to go check out our Instagram, because the more and more comfortable I'm getting with this costume, I might post a selfie, like a good old school MySpace selfie, you know?
Yes.
I'm dressed full scene emo hardcore kid. So I got
He is.
the long black bangs, I got the eyeliner, I got the lip piercing. I'm feeling
Yeah.
good. I'm feeling good.
And let me tell you from an outside perspective, I'm looking at Preston right now, and I'll tell you what, it's kind of a little shocking, but I guess not totally shocking. But he looks really comfortable in this look. Like when you see it, it doesn't strike a chord. It looks natural. It looks like he might have been in this phase once in his life or something, because it looks
100% have been in this phase before, but let me tell you, I never got this cool. Like, I never was confident enough to, like, rock eyeliner. I never had a lip piercing. But there was at one point in my life, when I was probably 13 or 14, that the guy that looked like this was, like, the coolest kid. Was, like, the coolest dude.
no.
If you look like this and you
It's true.
skated when I was, like, 13,
oh my god.
game over, bro.
Yeah, that's funny because even in Arizona, that was the case.
Oh, dude. I can't imagine all the goths and emo kids in Arizona when it's that hot. Like, shout out to you
dude.
guys.
Oh, for sure.
Shout out to you
They
guys
were
for rocking
always-
black in the summer, you know?
Black, long, tall black tees with black skater skinny jeans.
For me, the
brand
emo
was
phase,
Crew jeans. People loved crew jeans in Arizona.
like Crew the Skate Company, KREW.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tight. For me, the emo phase was like band tees, like those crazy band tees, right? Like they would have like
Yeah.
all this like gnarly shit on them. Super tight ripped jeans, studded belts.
Yep.
And then once I got into hip hop, it changed overnight. Like I was still listening to rock secretly, but then it was like I was skateboarding in like, you know, a white tall tee underneath with a colored tall tee on top, baggy pants. Like it just changed overnight.
in that scene era was during your junior high school years.
Yeah, it would have been like
right?
7th, 8th grade, and then like freshman year was like
Freshman year, it was still relevant.
no, freshman year was like I might wear a band tee here and there, but now hip hop is like taken over.
Yeah, it makes me wonder because obviously you're just one. You were one grade ahead of me, right? Or yeah, one grade ahead of me. So that does make sense because for me it was junior high as well. But and then by the time I got to high school, that phase definitely
Yeah.
had been put to bed. And so it makes me wonder if people like if you would have been a senior in high school back then, would you have been like?
Oh
would
fuck
that
yeah,
have
dude!
been
All the kids that I
swag?
was like skating with when I was like in 6th and 7th grade that were like 10th and 11th graders, they were dressed like this, bro. Like studs everywhere, vests, like you know that DIY punk emo. Fuck yeah, dude.
Damn, that's crazy, dude. That's wild.
Yeah, bro. I think
I'm
I
glad
have.
I did. I'm glad I wasn't in high school during that time. I wouldn't have.
Yeah, it would have been weird to look back at your pictures from high school and seen, but like
Yeah.
I think I'll find it and I'll post it. My like sixth or seventh grade class photo was in like a Slipknot shirt. Like I was
Damn.
into it, bro.
Yeah. That's fascinating. I had an older cousin who was about 6 or 7 years older than me. I remember going over to his house as a kid, and he had a Slipknot poster in his
Oh
room,
my
and he was
God.
telling me that's the greatest band of all time. Blah blah. He was trying to put me on it, but they had like these really scary masks,
Yeah.
and I was just like,
They're definitely not
I
the
don't know,
greatest
dude.
band of all time, but they're in the conversation of the greatest new metal band of all time. Like when you think about Slipknot, Korn, Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit, like when you think about that fusion, like that new metal,
Yeah.
they're in the conversation for sure.
And then Linkin Park was the most mainstream out of all those.
I would say
Because I can recall quite a few Linkin Park songs. I I know of some Limp Bizkit songs and some fucking Korn songs and some Slipknot songs, but it felt like Linkin Park was so popular. Didn't they have a song with Jay-Z?
they did that whole album with Jay-Z.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing about
crazy.
music, especially rock music, that's crazy is like music is pretty much dominated by two groups of people. It's teenage girls and then like 30-year-old men. Like those are the two groups of people that support their artists the most. You know what I mean? So like guys that were in their 30s in the 90s, like were definitely going to Limp Bizkit shows, Korn shows, Slipknot. You know what I mean? Like those bands were fucking huge, dude. Have you not seen the Woodstock 99 documentary?
No, I never saw
Oh
it.
my god, dude. So they tried to bring Woodstock back in 1999 and they had Limp Bizkit and Korn like play like headline and it was nuts, bro. It's like the biggest rock concert, like one of the biggest rock concerts ever. These bands were fucking huge. But then Linkin Park also was like early 2000s. So they just kind of came
little
up
bit after.
little bit after, but they're all in the same genre, right? That fusion
Yeah.
of like that
Yeah,
super
and I guess-
percussive metal, progressive, grindy shit. Like, yeah. But Slipknot was fucking huge.
Damn.
Do you listen to any music from when you were that age?
So, fun little story for everybody. Growing up, I went to a school in Gilbert, Arizona, an elementary school and a junior high, and I was surrounded by white kids. So, like, I'm half Mexican, half white, but I definitely present more Hispanic or maybe even Middle Eastern if you like saw me in real life. And so people definitely didn't think I was white, and so growing up, I felt that. And because I didn't feel white, and because I started playing competitive basketball at a really young age, like around like 10 years old, where I'd have to go to this academy and spend a lot of time like just playing basketball Monday through Friday, like every fucking day from like 3 to like 6, I swear to God.
I mean, that's
every
pretty
fuck-
white of you.
but I was playing with a lot of people of color, and the basketball culture is not white. It's definitely very African American influenced. So all of my teammates, they don't listen to that shit. Like, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we're listening to 50 Cent. We're listening to Young Jock. You know what I mean? Like we're listening to Young Jeezy. We're listening.
Well, I
to
think
those
that
people.
might have been the year difference in us, only because like I also fell in love with all of that stuff. Like my music taste from the time the time my dad was first putting on music for me as a kid is so eclectic that like
Yeah.
even I had an emo dressing phase. Like that wasn't the only thing I was listening to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. Yeah, totally.
But definitely, rock was like predominantly my main thing until I was probably like 13 or 14, I guess. And I would say like, because you know what's funny is I remember my uncle like letting me drive his car when I was like way before I could get a learner's permit, and Straight Outta Compton was in the car, NWA, and that was like, what? Like this exists? And then just from there, you know, it grew.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, and for me, it's technically probably my aunt. She put me onto Tupac and like Biggie at a young age, and then I discovered 50 Cent, and then I discovered Usher. Ludacris, Usher, and 50 Cent, those three in the beginning completely like were like my music world as a child.
I would say using the term discover is very loose because those were like the three biggest artists at the time.
I know.
Like you didn't discover that. Those motherfuckers were shoved down your throat.
Yeah, when they were discovered in my personal reality.
Yeah.
Because my mom and dad didn't listen to that type of music. My mom was like a Michael Jackson person, like, and then also a lot of like Mexican music.
Yeah.
And then my dad, he was more like a, Bob Dylan, the Beatles, Queen, like Led Zeppelin, like that vibe.
How old is your dad?
He's in his 60s.
Okay. Yeah, that's
my mom's in her early 50s. So yeah, exactly. And so I didn't literally like until I discovered them, I didn't even know.
Yeah, they weren't even in your. Yeah.
They
no,
weren't
trust
even
me.
in my stratosphere.
I was in the same boat. My parents are a lot younger than your parents. My dad's 54 now, I think. 55.
Your mom's probably around the same age, right?
51.
51, yeah.
My dad was like a LA punk kid. Like my dad was like, he was like 15 in 1982 when like punk rock was like all SoCal. So like growing up, my dad was listening to like the Circle Jerks and Suicidal Tendencies and the Misfits and like Agent Orange and like all these like hardcore Southern California punk bands. And then like, bands like Rage Against the Machine, Korn, like that like heavier, political metal. That was like all my dad listened to. So like my dad was like a strictly rock and punk guy. But then this is going to sound crazy. There was this punk band called Body Count, and it was actually Ice-T. You know the rapper Ice-T? Mm-hmm. It was his band. So then my dad was like, wait, who's this Ice-T guy? And like sort of started getting into hip hop.
Wow.
It's crazy, right?
It is wild. Weird. I didn't even know that Ice-T was on that kind of shit.
Oh, dude, it's actually tight. The album cover is like a gun, like a revolver pointed straight at like the front of a revolver. It's pretty tight.
Damn. Wow. What a time.
Yeah, so I'm glad we got on the emo phase because that's, fitting. Do you listen to any of the do you still listen to any of the music that you were listening to at this time?
In 7th grade? No, it's so funny. When I was at the barber today, he was playing like late 2000s hits. So like Cyclone and that You Should Let Me Love You, Let Me Be the One to, like that, all that kind of shit. And it was taking me back, bro. T-Pain, oh my God.
There's probably once a month, Lena and I will be like, either come back from LA or something or have like a lot of time in the car together. And it will inevitably, let me buy you a drink. Like eventually those will just come back on. And then I end up just listening to Lil Wayne for like a week straight after that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I love that music, man. I don't listen to it completely often, but it like comes into my life probably once every few months.
Oh, dude, I have been on such a kick lately of like, I've less now than when I was younger, but I have always loved listening to a band's discography from start to finish. Like really just like, okay, I'm late to the party. Like this band was making music before I was born. I want to hear it. I want to see it from the beginning. So like I've done that with like almost every band that I'm interested in. But lately I've been going back to a lot of actually like this emo and hardcore music and like just really like listening to a lot of the stuff from that time. And I think it's held up pretty well. Like I think there's a huge, I don't want to say revival, but like emo is definitely coming back.
It's definitely Is it coming back, though, is the question.
For sure, dude. There's a band right now called Hot Mulligan. They just put out an album this year, like in March, called Why Should I Watch? And if I put you in a time machine to 2004 and played you this album, you would have no idea. It's like
Really?
It's like textbook, like lab created mall emo, and it's so perfect.
Wow.
It's so good. So like it's definitely
send me that. I'll listen to it.
Okay, I will.
Deadass, I really will.
Yeah. So now that we've gone through our entire discography, what's your week been about? What you been
on? My family has like this pretty big like Halloween party every year at my grandmother's house or my nana's house. And so that was this past weekend. And so I went to that, and then I must have caught like some very mild like sinus bug or infection of some kind. And I didn't know it because I felt fine. And then I thought when I woke up on Sunday that, like, for example, we recorded our last podcast on a Sunday, and I felt decent then. I felt a little tired and hungover from drinking for the first time in forever, but, felt fine. But then the next day, I have an Aura ring, so I always know my readiness score and my sleep score. And my sleep score was like 80, but my readiness score was like 60. And
What does readiness mean?
Readiness means like your readiness to take on the day based upon a lot of factors: your heart rate throughout the night, your heart rate variability, the amount of like how much time you spent breathing. Your sleep score goes into that as well. So I wore this little ring, and it tracks all of that. It's highly fascinating. It's expensive, but it's really cool. And yeah, it said my readiness score was shit, and I was like, huh? This is so rare. And then sure enough, I was like, oh, fuck. I'm sick. And because, like, when you're sick, there's, like, a different
Oh, you feel it the night before.
Like, it's, like, lethargic, but you're like, this is weird. Like, if I don't wake up tomorrow feeling better, I'm definitely fucking sick.
For me, it's not the lethargy. I feel the heat behind my eyes the night before.
Yeah.
When you're, like, the night before and you're like, I feel a little hot behind the eyes, it's over. It's too late.
Yeah, I would agree. There's like this weird sensation around the eyes that does come as well. Yeah. And so, yeah, I woke up, definitely noticed I was sick. But I'll tell you what, guys, if you ever had any type of a mucus strip, right, coming down the back of your, inside of your nose into your throat, always, always, always go buy a nasal rinse bottle and rinse your nose. Because what will make a sore throat way worse is the consistent dripping of the mucus onto your throat, and it will inflame it. But luckily for me, I just fucking got on it quick, started rinsing my nose, and so I should have gotten a sore throat, didn't get it, but I had like this weird sinus pressure that made me feel strange. But today, no, specifically midday to now, I feel like I've really gone over the hump. Like tomorrow, I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna feel like him. Like I can feel it right now.
That's good.
So, but yeah, man, I was a little bit sick. Other than that, just stuck to it. And I started going live on TikTok, like consistently. That's one of my goals, is to go live on TikTok for 1 hour at least every day. And I went live on TikTok, and it was cool, man. Like I've done it 3 times this week so far. And yesterday I had a really interesting live. And it's just, TikTok is such a fucking overpowered app. It doesn't even make sense in terms of like visibility. Like if you go live on TikTok, someone like me, who doesn't have that big of a following, can get up to like, and I'm just saying this to everyone just so you know, and that's why all those people like Pinky Doll, for example, why she makes the money she does, is because TikTok is the best discovery app, and I had like 500 viewers in there for like
no shit
30-40 minutes. Yeah, I probably had over 400 and over 300 for over like an hour and a half. But when I got to like 500, I was like, what is going on?
Did you do the Glizzy Overdrive? Is that why you got so many people in?
No. I did get some gifts, though, like, which was so weird. People are sending me gifts and shit. I made $2 from gifts. So it's like,
let's go.
It's very weird. But the point of what I'm making is like, you could never do that on Twitch. It wouldn't work. Like, you couldn't do that on YouTube live. To
get 500 concurrent viewers, you have to grind Twitch for 2 years. Or you have to be so incredibly hot and do a hot tub stream for 6 months.
Exactly. And
but even then, like, your best shot is at getting 500 concurrent viewers in the 1 hour of streaming. Good luck.
Yeah. And it's like, I got 100 followers from it. Like, it's like from the sense of like, and it made me realize how valuable streaming is for fostering an audience, where it's like, you're like really giving yourself to the people. And so, it just really opened my eyes, and it made me think, if anyone out there is looking to make content, the moment you're able to start streaming, I think you should start streaming immediately. I think it's more than the future. I think you need to approach streaming differently. Like, it's this younger generation, Generation Z, they see streaming so different than we do. And I think you have to acknowledge that. So.
That's dope, dude. That's dope, actually.
Yeah,
what were you doing on stream? Just...
I put up a green screen of my top 10 anime. I put like my top 15 anime, and then like 5 anime that I think are mid. And I just sat there in front of the green screen, and I just was talking to people, and people were just typing in the chat, and I'm just...
Fuck you, that's my favorite.
Exactly. I'm just like talking is the whole time, and we're just chopping it up, and now it's that.
Be honest. Was it your honest top 5, or were you baiting a little bit?
Someone asked me that when I was in the stream, and I thought every list you make is kind of baiting, right? It's hard to make a list and show it publicly,
Exactly.
without trying to glaze or bait, right? So, a little bit of baiting, right? Because it's like I have some organic hot takes that piss a lot of people off, right? Like for example, like I'll call it cowboy mid bop.
Wow.
Like, exactly.
No wonder you've never said that in front of me. Fuck you, dude. That's so weak, bro. Okay.
Oh my god.
One
dude.
piece of shit, dude.
Dude. But then I follow it up with where I'm like, Samurai Champloo just did it better, and then you know what I mean. And
but
so, it's like I don't hate the art, like, and the thing, I have a much more complex take on Cowboy Bebop that would take a little bit to explain. I don't know if we should do that right now. We can if we want, but you get the point. What I'm saying, right? Like saying like that is triggering, like
Yeah, no, that fucking pissed me off. It here's the thing is like people have access to so much content. Like I feel like 20 years ago, people were arguing about the same 20 movies. You know what I mean? Like there was really only a discussion about the same 20 movies. Like if it didn't make it past the Cannes or like what's the huge film festival in Utah?
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I forgot.
Why can I not think of it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sundance. The Sundance Film Festival. Like, if it didn't make it past there, or it wasn't a blockbuster movie, nobody was talking about it. Whereas now with streaming, like, there's so much more content out there that, like, someone can say, you're putting that in your top 10 when, like, these 400 other movies exist in the same genre. Like, you could be, like, low-key objectively wrong, you know? And you're not meaning to rage bait. It's just that people have so much more access to... Dude, this, like, I don't even know how people did this in real life, bro.
Yeah, for real. You're totally right. That's an excellent point. That's such an excellent point, because now, and we're so, as much content as there is, we're so like blinded by like our own rabbit hole that we create based upon how we interact with these different social medias platforms, right? And so it's like you can, if you believe something with anything, obviously you can really fall down that rabbit hole and really, really believe that's what it is. And so, especially with anime, it's like, people were saying all other kinds of crazy shit. Just like, you don't have My Hero in your top 15? You don't have Demon Slayer? It's like, bro.
Yeah, you got into anime this year. Shut the fuck up.
It's like, bro, you haven't seen 15 anime. Like, I'll tell you what right now. Like, Demon Slayer's in your top 10. I like it.
I saw a
It's not
clip.
Top 15 show.
There was a clip of actually a pretty decent anime called Redline. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
It's an anime. It's like a kind of a death race thing.
Uh-huh.
All the comments were like, "This is better than Akira. Like this clears Akira." And I was like, this is like these either have to be 14-year-olds or they have to be trolls. Like there's just what are we comparing here? You're comparing a Martin Scorsese film to a fucking the Blair Witch Project. You know what I'm saying? Like what are we talking about? Yes, one might be really good, but the other one is cemented in history. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. No, I would agree. Yeah, a lot of takes like that come up, and especially because like the people who watch anime the most are Generation Z, and the way I can only imagine what it would be like to have a cell phone your whole life, and just like the way that you would learn how to make opinions and things like that while being on the internet, like you know what I mean? Like you can't take some of these kids seriously.
Not only that, but when you're commenting on a public forum that your comments can not only be responded to but also liked, you kind of form your opinions around a reaction.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Your opinions have to be reactionary or elicit a reaction, or they get lost in the feed, you know?
Yeah, and you'll say heinous things that you would never say in person because you would be too ostracized or penalized immediately for doing so. And so it creates this weird culture where people are saying things and thinking things they probably wouldn't normally believe in like a big group setting. And then they're also saying mean things that they would never have the balls to ever say ever.
Like on the street, someone says, "Dude, your opinion sucks." You're like, "Okay, fine, not a big deal." On the internet, the response is, I'm going to kill your entire family and I hope you get cancer. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
Exactly.
insane how far people take it because you don't have to have any backlash.
No, you're totally right. And imagine growing up on the internet.
Yeah, your
like,
formative years of how you learn to communicate is internet based.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're fucked.
It's scary, man. It's scary. It's scary, and I don't say that like, oh, Generation Z. If you're a Generation Z or listening to this, that I think you're cursed. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I can admire and I can appreciate where you're coming from in the sense of like, I think perceivably you have a hill to climb in terms of like fighting like all these systems that are playing tricks on your brain in terms of like giving you the ability to properly think and like evaluate information and try to not be biased and
like purposely
it's
injecting
tough.
you with ADHD every day that you wake up.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like exactly, man. It's tough. It's tough. I think I would have succumbed to those vices, given I was born 10 years later. No, 15 years later.
Yeah, I mean, it's still hard not to, bro. Like, sometimes I'll catch myself, like, I downloaded this app that, like, locks my phone because sometimes I'll catch myself just like,
Doom scrolling, yeah.
dude. And it's like, you don't even realize you're like an hour here, an hour there, this, that, and the other. You're like, oh, shit.
Yeah. And your brain is so clever. It loves reward. And you'll do it before you know you're even doing it.
Yeah.
It's insane, man. It's insane. Yeah, I agree. Well, with that being said, this is the Halloween episode, and so we want to continue on the genre that we've really been on these last couple episodes and making things spooky. So what I have for us right now and what I'm going to unveil to Preston are the top 10 scariest serial killers of all time. Of all time, right? This was developed by a website named Ranker. It's a pretty solid website, and honestly, I'm really excited to show you these because it's some crazy shit. You know what I mean?
Does the true crime stuff get you horny?
I'll say this: my gut says it makes everyone a little bit horny, but how horny it makes you after that is up to like what you prefer. I like it. I've always gotten a kick out of it, but I don't aggressively seek it.
Yeah. I have watched enough like serial killer documentaries that I'm like tapped out. You know what I mean? Like there was a point where it was very interesting, like, oh my God, like the psychology behind it. But then when you just realize like it's not that deep, these motherfuckers are crazy. It's like, let's just stay away from that for now.
Yeah. You know what? We could probably look into it, but it feels like there's way less serial killers now, and serial killers got like substituted for mass shooting people.
Yeah,
It's
you don't
like-
even need to hide anymore.
Yeah, and it's like, and they also don't have. I mean, another thing too, it's probably way harder to be a serial killer today because you have to get away with murder again and
Multiple
again
times,
and
yeah.
again with all these cameras and all that shit, cell phones, whatever. So maybe that, I don't know, but it's interesting how it's evolved. Where like we have like some prestigious serial killers on this list that Hollywood has made movies about.
Like legit.
Hollywood isn't making a movie called Columbine the movie, the fucking Aurora movie theater,
Yeah.
2008. Like they're not doing that because it's not. Mass shootings are seen completely different.
I will say though, I do think that the notoriety that has come with serial killers may be part of the reason why a lot of those mass shooters, you know, kind of
It could probably be an angle of it. I don't think that alone would give.
not alone,
Could give
definitely
somebody
not,
enough
definitely
conviction
not.
to do
But I
that.
will say that like serial killers were kind of like, from what I remember as a kid, like the first, I mean, I guess mobsters were first, right? Like this, like infamous, like we know they're criminals, but they have all this media attention surrounding them. They have movies made about them, right? And then serial killers kind of were like the next phase of that, where like Charles Manson was getting love letters in prison. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like serial killers became like everyone would be out there TV watching the trial, right? There was movies made about them, documentaries made about them. I mean, dude, the Jeffrey Dahmer documentary last year was like the most streamed thing on Netflix. Or was that this year?
Or no, it wasn't a documentary, right?
There was both. There was a documentary and a live action
And
that
the
came out at the same time.
Yeah. Exactly. And that was the weird thing. It's like you see the internet start to romanticize Jeffrey Dahmer,
Exactly.
the guy who literally ate people.
Yeah, that's nuts.
It's like what the fuck? It's like it's crazy how they just slip that shit in and like we just accept it. Like it's fucking weird. Okay. Anyways, let's fucking get to this top.
Let's get
10.
to it. So is
Let's
it
get to it.
just for sake of guessing and figuring it out? Is this?
You don't have to guess. You don't. Have to
Oh, okay,
guess.
okay, cool.
Yeah, you wouldn't. You would know. Let's see. How many would you know on here, like outright?
Probably know a lot of them.
You'd probably know 2 of them.
Only 2?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No way.
100%. Maybe 3. Maybe 3.
Okay. Start from the bottom up. Let's go.
Okay, let's do it.
What is this
Alrighty,
ranking on when you say is it most famous, scariest? So scariest maybe is like.
So the way, I'm assuming it's the way that they kill people.
Yeah.
It's the way that they fucking decide to go about it. Number 10, Fred West. This is him right here.
Yeah, never even heard this guy's name before.
Right here. This guy right here. Frederick Walter Stephen West. He was born on the 29th of September, 1941. He died January 1st, 1995. He was an English serial killer who committed at least 12 murders between the years of 1967 and 87 in Gloucestershire, the majority with his second wife. Oh, well, so he was killing people with his wife. Whoa.
She was in on it?
So between 1967 and 1987 in Gloucestershire, the majority with his second wife, Rosemary West. All the victims were young women. At least 8 of these murders involved the West's sexual gratification that included rape, bondage, torture, mutilation. The victims' dismembered bodies were typically burned in the cellar or the garden of the West's Cromwell Street home in Gloucester, which became known as the House of Horrors. Fred also committed at least 2 murders on his own, and Rose murdered Fred's stepdaughter, Charmaine, and the couple was apprehended. Holy shit.
Okay, that's fucking gnarly. But also 12 and 20 years, it's like one every 18 months.
That was like their... Which is even creepier, because that means that they were just like functioning members of society.
For 2 decades.
Like,
after their first
exactly. Murder. You know, like really just showing up, walking around, laughing with people, going out to eat. And it's like, little do you know, once every 2 years or whatever, they're just...
That's why I don't trust anyone with 4 names. Like that, once you got like that many letters.
Frederick Walter Stephen West, yeah. Odds go up.
Something's up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's too many names.
What was his wife's name? Carol
Rosemary
Ann Lynn.
West.
Rosemary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we know Rosemary West. It probably was Rosemary Beth Ann
Exactly.
West.
Rosemary Beth Ann West.
Mm-hmm. Damn, okay. So Fred West, he's number 10. That's already pretty creepy.
Yeah, the fact that he's... Yeah, okay.
Damn, okay. Well, Jack the Ripper, number 9.
Only 9?
9, yeah.
He's like one of the OGs in the game.
Easily one of the OGs. So, for those of you who do not know, Jack the Ripper was unidentified serial killer, generally believed to have been active in the largely impoverished areas in and around Whitechapel district of London in 1888. In both the criminal files and the contemporary journalistic accounts, the killer was called the Whitechapel Murderer and the Leather Apron. Attacks ascribed to Jack the Ripper typically involve female prostitutes who lived and worked in the slums of the East End of London, whose throats were cut prior to abdominal mutilations. The removal of internal organs from at least 3 of the victims led to proposals that their killer had some anatomical or surgical knowledge. Rumors that the murders were connected intensified. So we could read more about it, but that's the gist of it right there. Or we can hit that right.
Yeah, I feel like Jack the Ripper for me, he's gonna fall short of the goats only because he only killed prostitutes. Like
yeah,
doesn't seem that hard to get away with.
Yeah, no, he was definitely getting off on and I'm not validating him. He's to do that is beyond evil, right? But it's like I would say Fred West and his wife are creepier than
definitely scarier because
yeah.
Well, I mean, who knows? Since Jack the Ripper has never been found out, he could have been like the local doctor.
Yeah, that's true, right? Because he was never caught. That is fucking a little weird. That is true.
Like he was hiding in plain sight, just better.
Yeah. And he was doing it in 1888, where, I mean, we talked about it on this podcast. In 1970s, you could kill somebody.
Dude, in 1988. In 1988. I'll
Yeah,
fuck around. I'll murder somebody in 1988. You never know, bro.
You never know.
Come on.
I could
Don't play with me.
board planes, travel the country, escape prison. I could do anything I wanted back in those days. And in 1888, bruh, if you're a powerful white man, unless you get caught red-handed or other white men want you to get in trouble, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's, like, you're not.
In that time, did you have
You're not
to
getting
be,
caught.
did you have to be born into wealth, or could you like make something happen?
That's interesting. I would assume that back then it would have completely depended on what country you lived in and what the economic opportunity looked like. But I'm going to assume that you were either born into wealth or you were working some factory job.
Yeah, I would have
Because
just.
that's Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, I would have just been the tallest, most handsome factory worker. I would have never made it out.
Yeah. And you probably would have been too tall for the factory, and something probably would have gone wrong
and I
and
had
killed you.
Yeah, I had a
like-
horrible hunch by the time I was like 32, and like
Yeah,
a bad cough. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh yeah, and then your lungs were polluted with something terrible. You know, something. You could have been a chimney sweep because you were tall and lean, and you probably would have died from
Soot in my lungs.
from that. Exactly, a black lung. Okay,
I've
number
got the
8.
black lung, Pop.
Number 8. Ed Gain or Gein. Edward Theodore Gein or Gain was born August 27th of 1906.
He's
He
a
died
Virgo.
July 26th. Yep, he is a Virgo, which makes sense. That seems like a serial killer-esque sign. July 26th, 1984. Also known as the Butcher of Plainfield or the Plainfield Ghoul. Damn, they used to give these fucking serial killers like
The Plainfield Ghoul is low-key hard as fuck, dude.
Jack the Ripper, the Plainfield Ghoul.
Or the Butcher of Plainfield?
Yeah, and then Jack the Ripper's other name, the leather apron. That's what
That
they
shit's
just called
tight
him?
as fuck. We can't be
Damn.
glorifying these too much. Like,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
doing this for comedic purposes, but yeah.
Yeah. We're like take
Then
this.
I will
take
say
our
that
glorification with a grain
The
of salt.
nicknames are dope.
Yes, the Plainfield Ghoul. That name goes hard. All right, he was an American murderer and body snatcher. Whoa, his crimes committed around his hometown of Plainfield, Wisconsin, gathered widespread notoriety after authorities discovered Gain had exhumed corpses from local graveyards and fashioned trophies and keepsakes from their bones and skin. Gain confessed to killing 2 women, a tavern owner named Mary Hogan in 1954, and a Plainfield hardware store owner, Bernice Warden, in 1957. Gain was initially found unfit to stand trial and was confined to a mental health facility. In 1968, Gain was found guilty but legally insane of the murder of Warden and has remained probably in some kind of like psychiatric care. It looks like it stops there. But damn.
I mean, he's not really a serial killer. I mean, yes, he killed 2 people. That's by definition, but like, damn, that's that's crazy.
Making the leather keepsakes. The human leather keepsakes in like bone human like decorations. I hate that.
Yeah, that's fucking gnarly, actually.
I hate that. I do hate that. Wow. Okay, yeah, that's pretty.
That's why I will never go to Wisconsin. There's nothing good that happens there.
Yeah, because an Edward Gain is bound to respawn there every once in a while.
Yeah.
So, number 7, Edmund Kemper. So we have a picture of this guy. This looks to be a little bit more recent. Edmund Emil Kemper III was born December 18th, 1948. He is an American serial killer and necrophile. That means he fucked dead people, right? Who murdered 10 people, including his paternal grandparents and mother. He is noted for his large size at 6'9" and for his high IQ, 145. Kemper was nicknamed the Co-Ed Killer, as most of his victims were students at co-educational institutions. Born in California, Kemper had a disturbed childhood. He moved to Montana with his abusive mother at a young age before returning to California, where he murdered his paternal grandparents when he was 15. He was diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic by court psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist?
Psychiatrist, jeez,
welcome.
and sentenced to the Atascadero State Hospital as a criminally insane juvenile. And then he was
Whoa, wait.
released.
He was born in 1958?
1948.
Oh, 1948. So even in that photo, he's only 25 years old.
Yeah, and so he was released at the age of 21. Yeah, you're right. He was young, but he looked old.
But if you look like that at 25, you're definitely.
I mean, this guy's a menace, right? You're 6'9" with a 145 IQ. This guy's pretty much Preston if he ate a Mario mushroom. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this guy's huge. He's smart, and he's fucking traumatized as all hell. He causes havoc. Like this guy is. So he was released at 21 after convincing psychiatrists he was rehabilitated. Kemper was regarded as non-threatening by his victims. He targeted young female hitchhikers during his killing spree, luring them into his vehicle and driving them to secluded areas where he would murder them before taking their corpses back to his home, to be decapitated, dismembered, and violated. Kemper then murdered his mother and one of her friends before turning himself into authorities. Found sane and guilty at his trial in 1973, Kemper requested the death penalty for his crimes. Capital punishment was suspended in California at this time, and instead he received 8 concurrent life sentences. Since then, he has been incarcerated in California. Kemper has waived his right to parole to a parole hearing several times. As he said, he is happy in prison. Wow.
What? You know, the thing is, I think he's just me if I had to move to Montana as a kid.
Yeah. Moved to Montana, abusive mother.
That'll do it.
That'll do it. And honestly, what I see from this, too, is it's a reminder that, and not to justify any of his behavior, but it's more like this guy was made a serial killer by life. He was traumatized probably heavily. And the fact that he wanted to be put to death, and then the fact that he's just in prison chilling saying, yo, like, I'm good. Like, leave me here. Like, I deserve to be. Like, it's like this guy is tormented people, and he probably had a tormented life.
It's weird, though, that he's obviously tormented, but also self-aware. To request the death penalty and then waive his rights to parole, he's obviously highly intelligent. Like, there's proof that he has has a above Mensa level IQ.
Yeah.
He's scary, bro.
He is scary. Yeah, no doubt. And it makes me think that the trauma that he had as a kid must have, like, desensitized and fucked him over so bad that he became such a sociopath or psychopath or sociopath, where he probably was able to do these unimaginably gruesome things and, like, be like, so what? Put me in prison. I don't care. I don't feel anything. Like,
and 6'9", bro? How are you getting, like, how are you doing anything stealthy at 6'9"?
I mean, he was in the insane era, like in the era of where you could, I mean, he's doing this between 1948 and, 1973.
Yeah.
And, like, he did all of this before the age of 25.
That's nuts. I mean, at least he lived a full life.
Yeah, I know.
That's a joke. That's a joke.
That's a joke. 71, man. He's still alive. That's the crazy thing. He's just in prison.
He's younger than my grandma.
Yeah, on some fucked up shit, I would be curious to interview him and ask him about the time he spent on that serial killing spree.
I have no desire to talk to this man.
I would always be willing to interview a serial killer.
I would be willing to.
I want to hear out of the horse's mouth, like, what, like, I want to look someone in the eyes that's done it and ask them why.
Here's the difference: is, like you said, you are never going to be reformed from that. He's never going to be on the.
No, I don't want to reform him though.
So you can never look him in the eye, and you'll never get that because he's obviously nuts. So, like,
but I just want to feel it.
Really, I don't want that energy.
I want to see it and feel it. I want to hear him talk about it. I want to see him talk about it. I want to see his body language when he describes it. I want to know, because it's just like, it's obviously, true crime is apparently fascinating, right? So it's just kind of like, you unimaginable motherfucker. Like, I mean, you might walk away from the conversation being like really disturbed, where you're like, that guy doesn't have a soul. Like, oh my God, holy shit, right? Okay, let's move on. Number 6, Richard Chase. Richard Trenton Chase was born May 23rd, 1953, died December 26, 1980. He was an American serial killer who killed 6 people in the span of a month in Sacramento, and he was nicknamed the Vampire of Sacramento, because he drank his victims' blood and cannibalized their remains. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty...
I mean, my guy, he really only had 1 year in the league, you know?
Yeah,
Doing
no,
6 in a month.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he really...
It's like he went crazy at, whatever age it was. He died at 30 years old, though. So
Sounds like 27, right? Well, when was he born?
1950.
And died.
Yeah, so, I mean, what's interesting, though, is this was in California, and the death penalty didn't exist when this guy got arrested in 1973. So this guy got arrested before him.
Yeah.
So he must have died in prison, or...
Yeah. California, low-key, has a lot of serial killers.
Yeah, it's a big state. Big state.
I don't think he should be ranked that high, just for drinking blood. All the other shit we've talked about
blood
is
and
way more
cannibalizing
heinous.
remains.
Way more heinous than everything we've talked about, or everything else we've talked about is way more heinous. That's like pretty mild compared to everything else these other.
Yeah, because I guess you could say what you do while you kill them is worse than what you do after.
No, absolutely not.
No, that's what you're saying.
I'm saying that, like,
because what makes this guy bad is the fact that the reason why they ranked him high is because he drank blood and cannibalized their remains.
Yeah,
but he just murdered them.
The other dude had sex with them, bro.
Well, what's worse? What's creepier?
The sex.
Raping a dead body or eating another fucking person?
Definitely the rape part.
I would say eating somebody is worse.
No. The Donner Party was out here eating people.
The rape thing, it's like, obviously,
Jeez,
rape is disgusting, but it's like a feasible thing that happens all the time, everywhere, right? Where eating other people, bro, you're drinking other people's blood, you're eating people. What is going on? What are you, a fucking demon?
See, to me...
Would you rather find out that your daughter was raped after she was dead, or your daughter was eaten by another man? You get to see him in the courthouse. This guy ate your daughter, a good amount of your daughter. This guy raped your daughter when she was dead.
This is getting demonetized for sure.
But you see what I mean? It's like it's
and when you put it like
that
that,
must be why they put him that high, because that's what I'm saying. They had that must be it. It's like that thought is just so unnerving. It's like
he just looks like a creep too.
Yeah, this guy looks terrible, honestly.
Go ahead.
All right, so number 5, Dean Corll. Dean Arnold Corll, born December 24th, 1939, died August 8th, 1973, was an American serial killer who abducted, raped, tortured, and murdered at least 28 teen boys and young men between 1970 and 73. Oh my God, Corll was aided by 2 teenage accomplices as well, David Owen Brooks and Elmer Wayne Henley. The crimes, which became known as the Houston mass murders, came to light after Henley fatally shot Corll. Upon discovery, they were considered the worst example of serial murder in U.S. history. Corll's victims were typically lured with an offer of a party or a lift to a succession of addresses in which he resided between 1970 and 1973. They would then be restrained either by force or deception, and each was killed by a strangulation or shooting with a .22 caliber pistol. Corll and his accomplices buried 17 of their victims in a rented boat shed. 4 victims were buried in woodland near Lake Sam Rayburn. 1 victim was buried at the beach in Jefferson County, and at least 6 other victims were buried on the beach in Bolivar Peninsula. Brooks and Henley confessed to assisting Corll in several abductions and murders. Both were sentenced to life imprisonment and their subsequent trials. Corll was also known as the Candyman and the Pied Piper because he and his family had owned and operated a candy factory in Houston Heights, where they had been known to give free candy to kids.
Okay, that's gnarly.
Damn, so they just were, all 3 of them were just addicted to abducting, raping, and torturing young boys.
Yeah,
for
that's gnarly.
3 years.
Fuck.
28?
Yeah,
that's almost gnarly. 1 a month.
That's 9 a year, yeah. That's like every 6 weeks you're getting to it.
Damn, bro, that's fucked.
Yeah, no,
To do
that guy
that
definitely.
many
He's number
times.
4.
Number 5.
Damn. If he's number 5, holy shit. I will say now on the list of nickname rankings, Candyman's cool. It's kind of weak though.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I would agree. I would say best nickname.
I'm gonna say the Plainsfield Ghoul.
Yeah, Plainsfield Ghoul. That is a hard nickname.
Yeah.
It is dope. 4, Andre Chikatilo.
Damn, this guy just looks like somebody's uncle too.
For real. I'm curious to see what he did. Andre Romanovich Chikatilo. He's Russian. He was born on the 16th of October in 36, and he died on the 14th of February in 1994. Was a Soviet serial killer nicknamed the Butcher of Rostov, the Red Ripper, and the Rostov Ripper.
Holy shit, that boy's got 3
You got 3. Oh my god.
immaculate titles.
I just read some of the numbers he put up. Unreal. Who sexually assaulted, murdered, and mutilated at least 52 women and children between 78 to 1990 in the Russian
shit.
SFSR, the Ukrainian SSR, and the Uzbek SSR. Chikatilo confessed to 56 murders and was tried for 53 of these killings in April of 92. He was convicted and sentenced to death for 52 of these murders in October of 92, subsequently executed in February of 94. He was known as the Rostov Ripper and the Butcher of Rostov due to the fact he committed the majority of his murders in the Rostov Oblast of the Russian SFSR. Wow.
I mean, he was born 1938. That means he was on trial
36.
1936.
And so
He was
did
like
this between
50
78, 90.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so he was already
So-
like in his late 30s. He was already 38
Yep.
to 78. He was 40 years old when he caught his first body.
Exactly. That is crazy, dude.
I think it just goes to show that it's never too late. Like, no matter how
Yeah.
old you are, like you can still follow your dreams, and you can still, like, you still.
You can become a top 5 serial killer of all time.
Well, I'm not saying
40
just
years
serial killing. Like, if that's not your thing, more power to you. Anything you want to do, does not define you.
No, it doesn't. And if there's any type of a silver lining around the dark, disgusting cloud that is Andre Chikatilo,
The Red Ripper.
the Red Ripper, I guess it's that. Oh my God, I had no idea.
Here's what I will say.
That's some production. Jesus
Absolutely
Christ.
swag on Russia for not taking their time. This guy got tried, convicted in 1992. He was dead by 94.
Yeah,
Prisoners here in California, those motherfuckers sit on death row for like 15 years.
yeah. No, you're right. Like he was out basically a year and a half later, almost.
Yeah.
Like less. Like he was just taken care of quickly. Damn, dude.
That's nuts. He has
Damn.
he Loki has the GOAT nickname so far though. I will say he has the best
Which one? The Red Ripper?
the
Or
Ripper of Rostov.
Rostov Ripper?
Yeah, that's pretty
Or the
good.
Butcher of Rostov.
That's what I
as
meant.
well?
The Butcher of Rostov.
Yeah. Plainsfield Ghoul and Butcher of Rostov are definitely up there right now, for sure. Okay, John Wayne Gacy.
Oh, classic. The party clown.
Yep. John Wayne Gacy was born the 17th of 42 and died on the 10th of May in 94.
Real
He
quick,
was an
real
Ama-
quick. Every single one of these motherfuckers, except for Jack the Ripper, was born in either the 30s or the 40s. Seems like from 1940 to 1970, we just really were out here letting serial killers do whatever they wanted. Did you notice that?
No, I agree with you. That's what I was saying earlier, was that it seemed like in the past, serial killers were like way more prominent than they are today.
This is going to sound crazy, but this is where my brain went. Do you think this is like a post-World War II thing? Like, do you think
I do think there is something there with that. I
Right?
think there's something with the state of the world, because I think you got to think about, okay, what was happening in the 60s and 70s? Vietnam. That's pretty depressing.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're an American, you could become easily pretty nihilistic.
Well, and you're only 20 years removed from we literally
World War
dropped
II,
two
and then you
nukes.
lived in the Cold War, like World War II, Cold War.
Well, it would have been World War II, Vietnam, and then the Cold War.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and then Yeah, and obviously that's where American kind of exploded in terms of like economic prosperity, which is also interesting as well. So like they were doing this during like the beginning of the economic prosperity of America,
Yeah,
or
like
at
the
least the
second wave.
American ones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
where this guy obviously
Third wave,
in Andre Ticatillo, same time frame,
but
but
in
he's
Russia.
in the Soviet.
I
You
would be
know,
so
he
curious to see if this has been studied, and I would love for someone to send us any material on this. Like, this is all post World War II. All these kids were born either right at or right before World War II. Like, this is like,
yeah. Except for Edward Gain, and like it makes sense. Edward Gain only killed like 2 people, right? You know what I mean? Like
yeah, he didn't have that dog in him like the rest of
he
them.
didn't have that dog in him. And then Jack the Ripper is just, you know,
He was just 100 years ahead of the curve.
yeah,
70
exactly.
years ahead of the curve.
And then even Frederick, you know, he's post World War II.
But like right around there. That's what I'm saying. Like these kids were like these guys were all kids or grew up like post World War II.
Yeah,
I'd be just so
yeah,
curious to see what that did to them or what that did to society that caused like I mean literally, bro, of we're about to be in the top 3 and 7 of the
I mean, we can look. The top three is the only one that wasn't. There's only two: Jack the
That's what I'm
Ripper
saying.
and the Plainsfield Ghoul. It's crazy.
Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to get us on a tangent. It just it stuck
you're
out
right.
to me.
It's a good observation though. John Wayne Gacy, number 3, born March 17th, 42, died the 10th of May, 94, was an American serial killer who raped, tortured, and murdered at least 33 teenage boys and young men between 1972 and 78. And they always did this in the 70s, it feels like, for around starting in the 70s, going on. By the time they became like 30, 20 years old, they're like doing it. He did this in Cook County, a part of the metropolitan Chicago. All of Gacy's known murders were committed inside of his Norwood Park ranch house. His victims were typically induced to his address by force of deception, and all except one of his victims were murdered by either asphyxiation or strangulation with a makeshift garrote, garrote, as his first victim was stabbed to death. Gacy buried 26 of his victims in a crawl space of his home. 3 other victims were buried elsewhere on his property, while the bodies of his last 4 known victims were discarded in the Des Plaines River. Convicted of 33 murders, Gacy was sentenced to death on the 13th of March of 1980 for those 12 murders. He spent 14 years on death row before he was executed by lethal injection at a Stateville Correctional Center on May 10th of 1994. He became known as the Killer Clown because of his charitable services at fundraising events, parades, and children's parties where he would dress up as Pogo the Clown or Patches the Clown, characters that he had created.
Have you seen the John Wayne Gacy tapes on Netflix?
No, I haven't.
Crazy documentary. They actually have his voice recorded. They have interviews of him on tapes. This is the funniest thing is he would like sexually assault these guys that he would kill, and he swears he wasn't gay. Like if you listen to him on the recording, he's like, I'm not gay. Like I'm not into that. It's a sin.
That is insane.
Yeah, dude. I mean, dude, his numbers speak for themselves. Like, no, of course this dude's scary as fuck. He's just a middle-aged man. He dresses up as a clown at kids' parties, and he killed 33 people. Like, that's nuts.
Yeah. And just like, I'm sure it was very unsettling for the community once they found out that he was capable of all that, and they thought back to all the times he dressed up as that clown.
Well, dude, and
everything
he was like a
doing.
prominent figure in the community. Like, he did a lot of charitable work. Like, he made good money. He was a part of, like, I forget what the group was, but it was kind of like the Elks, I guess. Like, it was like a men's kind of fraternity thing. And he was, like, low-key, like a pillar in the community. All while he's just out here serial killing.
For real, bro. Like a goddamn menace. That is insane. Here we go. Similar time frame-esque, honestly. Number 2, Jeffrey Dahmer. No surprise, I guess. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer, born May 21st of 1960, died November 28th of 94, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal or the Milwaukee Monster. 2 Wisconsin people on this list. Was an American serial killer and sex offender who committed the rape, murder, and dismemberment of 17 men and boys from 1978 to 1991. Many of his later murders involved necrophilia, cannibalism, and permanent preservation of body parts, typically all of part of the skeleton. Although he was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, schizophrenic personality disorder, and psychotic disorder, Dahmer was found to be legally sane at his trial, and he was convicted of 15 of the 16 murders he had committed in Wisconsin and was sentenced to 15 terms of life imprisonment on February 15th, 1992. He was later sentenced to his 16th term of life imprisonment for an additional homicide committed in Ohio in 78. But then, on November 28th of 1994, Dahmer was beaten to death by Christopher Scarver, a fellow inmate at the Columbia Correctional Institution.
Have you watched the Dahmer documentary?
No.
The crazy thing about Jeffrey Dahmer, he almost got caught like 4 times, bro. There was literally one of his victims was like a small, like Filipino boy, like his parents immigrated from Southeast Asia. Jeffrey Dahmer was doing experiments and he was trying to drill into his victims' brains because he would try to give them like an at-home lobotomy because he thought that it would make them more docile. So they would be alive and they would listen to him because he didn't like that, like after they died, like he wanted them to be aware and be president, but he wanted them to stay home and like he didn't, he was trying to make them like docile. He drilled into this kid's head. The kid ended up getting out, like escaping, and was out wandering the streets. And then when they found the boy, the people were like, what the fuck? Like, get away from him. Like, call the cops. He's like, no, I got him. And then he went back to his apartment. Like, he was allowed to, like no investigation ensued. Like, one of his victims escaped. People saw this victim with, like, blood coming out of their head. He's like a young boy. And then Jeffrey Dahmer got to just take him back to his apartment. Like, real shit. Like, you can look that up. Like, this motherfucker should have been caught, like, 4 or 5 times.
Poor boy, man.
Dude, that out of
society failed him, man.
Society completely failed him. And like the cool thing about the documentary is it actually interviews his neighbors. His neighbor was like this super cool older black guy, and he was just like, bro, I was telling these motherfuckers his apartment reeked for weeks. Like I was like there was a 100% a murderer living next to us and no one would listen. Like no one cared.
That is insane, dude.
Nuts,
That's
right? Before we get to number 1, the Milwaukee Monster is pretty good.
It is good. It is. The Milwaukee Monster.
Good. And I'm very sorry to anyone out there that has family or has been connected to any of these horrendous crimes. These are absolutely heinous and unspeakable.
Correct.
But it is Halloween season, so we just kind of,
Yeah, it's like we're just talking. This is historical fact. We don't condone any of it, but.
So real quick, I'm going to just assume, based on the fact that the name hasn't come up, I'm going to say Ted Bundy has to be number 1. Like, they're just, he's missing from this list.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Because I know the number 1.
Okay.
Albert Fish.
What?
Bundy not even in the top 10.
Wow.
Not even in the top 10. Okay, are you ready for this? So, this guy was an American. His name was Hamilton Howard Albert Fish. His nickname was Albert. He was born May 19th of 1870. Died January 16th, 1936. Was an American serial killer, child rapist, and cannibal. He was also known as the Gray Man, the Werewolf of Wisteria, the Brooklyn Vampire, the Moon Maniac, and the Boogeyman.
Okay, yeah, he wins.
Bro, his lineup of nicknames are crazy.
Bro.
Oh my god.
Can you give it back? Can you give those to us one more time?
So we got the Gray Man, which is fucking creepy. The Werewolf of Wisteria, the Brooklyn Vampire, the Moon Maniac, and the Boogeyman. He probably is the OG Boogeyman, considering the time that he did it, honestly. Fish once boasted that he had children in every state, and at one time stated his number of victims was about 100. However, it is not known whether he was referring to rapes or cannibalizations, nor it is known if the statement was even truthful. Fish was a suspect in at least 5 murders during his lifetime. Fish confessed to 3 murders that police were able to trace, known as homicide, and he confessed to stabbing at least 2 other people. He was put on trial for the kidnapping and murder of Grace Budd and was convicted and executed by the electric chair. His crimes were dramatized in the 2007 film The Gray Man, starring Patrick Bowchow as Fish.
You literally took the. I was literally typing. If you heard me typing, Albert Fish movie, because as you were reading those stats, I was like, "There's no way there's not a movie about this guy."
Damn, that's crazy. So it's interesting that his clout on the street is that he got 100, but no one can prove it but him.
Yeah.
But he must have been doing it for long enough to where, like, to get that many nicknames.
I mean, dude, the Werewolf of Wisteria is. That shit is up there. What years was this taking place?
So he died in 1936. So it doesn't say actually the time span of the years on here. We could probably look it up.
I mean, he was born 1870, so he was 66 when he died. So even if he started at 16 years old, he was catching 2 bodies a year for his entire life.
Oh yeah, and he lived during an era where he probably was able to get just. He lived through the Great Depression, or like
And World War One.
And World War One. Like,
Holy
I can only imagine how
he's like low-key like a modern Genghis Khan, bro. He's just got kids everywhere.
Yeah, he just did it in every state too at the time. God, this guy was probably.
Oh, he definitely. And also, I'm reading this. He killed and ate children.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Killed, ate, and raped killed kids.
Yeah.
He did everything. You can't do anything worse. Like, you kill, rape, and eat them.
Yeah, that's the big 3 right there. That's
yeah. That's the big
triple
3
crown
of heinous.
Yeah, that's the triple crown of you're a living demon. So real quick, I wanted to look this up because I wanted to make sure that my story was like straight, and it was actually way worse than I remembered about this kid with Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh shit!
So Jeffrey Dahmer in 1988, Jeffrey Dahmer went to prison because he had sexually assaulted a kid named Somsak.
Okay.
He spent years in prison for this sexual assault. In 1991, 3 years later, Jeffrey Dahmer meets a random 14-year-old boy in a mall. Guess who that boy was?
The Filipino?
Yeah. The other kid's little brother.
This poor family.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Could you fucking imagine? By the same person. So let alone the fact that both of your, and they're first generation immigrants. They fled from Laos, it says. Not only does this happen to your family, to both of your children, by the same person. Could you, so check this out. On May 26, 1991, Dahmer met Conorak, who's the younger sibling, in a Milwaukee mall. The family was struggling for money, so when Dahmer offered the boy payment for a photo shoot, Conorak reluctantly agreed. He accompanied Dahmer to his apartment, where his attempt to earn an income for his family quickly turned into a nightmare. Early in the hours of May 27, 1991, Dahmer's neighbor Glenda Cleveland placed a call to the Milwaukee police. According to court documents, she told the dispatcher, "I'm on 25th and State, and there is a young man. He's buck naked. He's been beaten up. He's really hurt. He needs some help." Conorak was naked and bleeding in the street outside of Dahmer's apartment. Unbeknownst to Cleveland, who was the lady that called the police, and to the police who responded to her call, Dahmer had already begun torturing the boy. The killer later confessed that he had drilled a hole into Conorak's skull at that point, just enough to open a passageway to the brain, and injected hydrochloric acid that induced a zombie-like state. So this is where it gets.
He was already dead.
He's probably not fully recovering from that, but if he had the wherewithal to
hydrochloric acid. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. This guy is running off of adrenaline, but
pure it's pure primal adrenaline. Yeah. So, however, the officers that arrived at the scene thought that Conorak was just drunk. The teen had escaped when Dahmer stepped out of his apartment to go buy liquor, but the deranged serial killer returned home while the police were attempting to question Conorak. Conorak's the boy. Dahmer told the officers that Konorak was his adult homosexual lover who had simply had too much to drink. They believed him and escorted Konorak back into Dahmer's apartment and to his ultimate death. Despite the vigorous protestations of several African Americans on the scene, the court documents read, the officers and Dahmer led, I'm going to butcher his last name, Cynthia Somphony, back to Dahmer's apartment where the body of one of Dahmer's victims lay unnoticed in an adjoining room. Bro, the cops were called. Yeah. They found this boy bleeding in the street. The police walked him back up to his apartment where there was already another dead body there.
That honestly just makes me think of that saying of like, the truth is stranger than fiction. Like,
yes,
you couldn't like that happened. Like,
not only did that happen, but that happened to a boy who, unfortunately, his older brother had a run-in with this same serial killer. Like that is just nuts, dude.
Yeah, the universe can be as equally beautiful that the universe can be. It can be as equally cruel
dark
and unimaginably dark and evil.
Yeah,
that is.
Okay, so I say we wrap this up here. What would your serial killer nickname be?
The Scottsdale Slasher.
No, that's too easy. I think you're the Ghost of Gilbert.
The Ghost of Gilbert, dude.
That's where you grew up, right?
Yeah.
I think you're the Ghost of Gilbert, bro.
Yeah. The Ghost of Gilbert, dude. What would you fucking be, dude?
Probably the SoCal Slender Man.
You'd be the SoCal Slender Man, or
that's a good one. That came off the dome.
No, or the Santa Ana Slender Man.
Santa Ana Slender Man.
Or the Santa Ana Succubus.
Yeah, I would only kill people while they're sleeping.
Dude. Yeah, for sure. You could definitely be the SoCal Slender Man. For sure.
Yeah,
Preston blank had a tall frame at 6'5" and an IQ of whatever it is.
152.
Exactly, 152. Craftily killed his victims. There was I could see the paragraph in your.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Standing at a 6'4", 240 pounds. It was a physical anomaly for Sebastian, the Ghost of Gilbert, to make his way in and out of his victims' houses without leaving a trace.
Exactly.
Most stories say he must have been able to move through walls.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn, I should be a crime writer.
Yeah, for real. That's exactly it. Damn,
yeah,
bro. Damn. Alrighty, y'all. Well, that's the end of the spookiness of October. I hope you enjoyed it this month. There's a lot of dark shit that we talked about that I don't normally like to talk about, but
I really don't.
Tis the season.
Well, you know, I will say it is good sometimes to remember that stuff exists, you know?
Yeah. And just like like if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. Not that, one of us were going to become a serial killer, but just like the awareness of like the world contains that, it's like, damn. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, could you imagine we go on a murdering spree together and they call us the Serial Sagers?
The Serial Sagers. That's what it would be. The Serial Sagers, dude.
The Serial Sager. All right. If you're a hashtag Serial Sager, let us know on any of our social media posts. Other than that, man, thank you guys so much for supporting. Thank you again for another listen. Like we said, the content will be a little bit lighter here going forward. We're gonna have a nice palate cleanser starting next week.
Yeah.
So other than that, man,
it'll be November by the time we post again. So who knows what the theme could be then?
Exactly. So we love you. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next week.